Yes, Hickok 45, your internet shooting companion, come to you from the beautiful hills of Middle Tennessee. Tennessee, the home of Alvin York, Dolly Parton, and all those other people I constantly mention, right? One of these days I'll get around to naming everybody that lives in Tennessee, okay? I'll get out the phone book. Do we still have phone books? I don't think so. I still have a Lee Enfield Mark III, though. Let's take a shot. Oh, yeah, blow something up. How about a propane tank and a bowling pin? Is it an English bowling pin? I don't know. The dead bowling pin now. Let's try the coffin over there. Speaking of dead. Man, hit it hard. I'll leave the empty in the chamber. You know the drill by now with a lever gun, a bolt gun, what other kind of gun? Single action, double action is just natural, right? But I leave a dead round, empty case under the chamber, and the firearm is essentially unloaded. Not really, but it's pretty safe, isn't it? Pretty safe. I don't think pulling the trigger is going to do any good. Just again, for new people, you have to establish your own systems. There are certain rules of safety, of course, things we just try never to violate. But then there's another larger gray area of, I guess, just how you go about like storing your firearms and just managing them, different degrees of safety. And some people maybe think others go overboard. There's a little bit of a range, but you just want to be safe, And anyways, I'm walking around or I'm shooting a bolt gun or a lever gun. For one thing, just because I have 4, 5, 10 rounds in the magazine, every time I pick it up to shoot doesn't require that I empty the magazine, right? Especially these days, that's tough on the ammo supply. And any time, pick up an AR-15. Just because you pop in a 30-round magazine, you don't have to shoot all 30 rounds. I mean, at one time. Maybe you're at the range and you put in a mag and you shoot, like you see me do sometimes. I like shoot 8 or 10 or whatever. And maybe you pop the magazine out into the chamber and lay it down and have a conversation about the gun with somebody or something. I don't know. Just because it holds 30 doesn't mean you shoot 30 every time it hits your shoulder. Now, that's okay. It's not illegal, right, in most places. But anyway, that's just something I do. I know it's very, very safe if I'm walking around, especially, and fire some shots at things. Because me, I don't hunt. I hunt 2-liters and I hunt tree stumps and things like that. And so, if I'm not going to shoot, I'm going to continue my hike through the woods for a bit. And I fired a shot. I'm not going to fire a shot for a while. I just leave that empty case under the chamber, and it's a pretty safe firearm, right? I don't think anybody has actually been hurt by an empty case. I know the old saying, so many people, everybody gets killed by a loaded gun, or all accidents occur with an unloaded gun, quote unquote, right? So, how to get off on all that? Well, you never get off on safety too often, I guess, talking about that sort of thing. So, here I am. Good to see y'all. Glad you're here. In the woods. Can you all tell any difference? I'm here every day around, and so I notice the difference, but maybe it's not as stark or as contrasting to me in terms of the change in leaves and everything. But I think it is. Yeah, I think it's grown out a little bit more this week. Leaves are bigger, and that's really the difference, I guess, between this week and last week. The leaves are bigger, and because most of the trees had been sprouting out and leaving out already, and it's just amazing the difference between like dead of winter and like right now. If you're living in Arizona, Tucson or somewhere where there's very little difference, it's just phenomenal, the difference. Really, you can't see anything, which is good. Much more privacy, in the summertime. I'm working on that though with my bamboo crop. So didn't know I was a botanist, did you? So yeah, here I am, and well, thankfully not on the road for a change here, and having a big time. A couple things I'll talk about. I'll shoot this gun, and I want to thank Al stalled up, and I got Talon grips on it, and it feels great. Just kidding, no Talon grips on this, but we appreciate everybody that helps us out. And I'm not going to mess with the bolts because it's got an empty case under the chamber. I think I talked about that, didn't I? So I promise I'm sober. So yeah, what we're going to talk about? Well, let's shoot a little bit. Now I've got several rounds in here. Let's see how many. I don't know. Oh, we haven't shot the target, have we? Let's try it. Let's put one on the gong. It can withstand it, I think, even though it's a fairly powerful round. All right. That's why I spent the money, your money, over here. We're on the Gong Club range, as you realize that you all really funded. Well, you fund everything essentially, but the Patreons where we keep the Gong Club range alive, buy targets, and have put a lot of the money into targets, and got the AR-500 the Gong. For those who don't know, AR-500 steel is pretty hard steel, okay, and it's pretty tough. You can even shoot it with a rifle. It's not quite far enough to be banging with a high-powered rifle all the time, plus it's big, doesn't give much, so it might put little bitty dings in it, and I don't want to destroy it. And so yeah, that's a lot of fun. Good. It's good to have targets that are hardened, and they're safer. They just work better. They really do. I still get questions about targets and steel and all that kind of thing. We've got FAQs on that, and did a video on shooting steel safely, I think it's called, and where I talk about a lot of that. If you haven't seen that, new folks, and that's a problem. One of the frustrating things, I guess, about YouTube is the nature of it. Is it's not just YouTube, it's what we do. Is communicating with everybody. You can't get to everybody. There's no way. It's not like I've got every subscriber's email and I can send them a message. It wouldn't read it anyway, right? Some of them. So, you can post a video on something that's asked pretty frequently and explain it pretty well, maybe. But we still got millions of people that haven't seen it. So, can't do anything about that. All we can do is make the videos and put them out there. So search the channel for things if you're new and you're not sure whether we've done this or that, or still see questions or comments about, hey, we ought to do a video on such and such gun. We may have 4 videos on that gun. So search the channel. We even have a video on how to search the channel, FAQ 54. We need a video on I'm going to get it out. I was getting crazy. I really promise you I have not been drinking. What was I going to talk about? I'm just hanging around, just doing my part to do whatever it is, and that's what we're supposed to be doing, right? Doing our part. You got to watch that, though. Do your part. You see signs. Do your part. And a lot of that, it has to do with whether or not people want you to breathe freely. Do your part. Don't breathe freely. And, it kind of depends on which scientist you support, right? And as it is with a lot of things. But there's so many things I've talked about for years about this concept of whenever you hear it just reminded me of something else. Oh man, did it. Saving, if it saves one person's life, it's worth it. You've heard that said. I just thought of something else. I don't want to let it slip away. Because how it is, when you get my age, you just forget things. They slip out of your brain. Actually, I've been that way since I was 15, so it's not old age. But really, some things sound so good. They make so much sense. And most of us, we're not, sadistic. We don't want people to be hurt. We don't want to see people in pain and that kind of thing. Uh, we have empathy for other people. And even little kittens and dogs and puppies and things, right? And babies and children and everything. There's just nothing better than like children or puppies or kittens. I've been hanging out with my grandson this week. It's just nothing beats that, period. Um, so the advice of whatever it is someone's talking about, if I know it's an inconvenience to you, but if it saves one life, it's worth it. So on the surface, that's hard to argue with, isn't it? But then when your common sense and your reasoning kicks back in, you think, oh, well, yeah, that's a nice thought, but you can justify anything with that logic is the problem, can't you? Just like, do your part. I'm sure Joseph Stalin used that line, right? Fidel Castro, do your part, jump in line, and get with the group, get with the plan, get with my plan, right? So you got to be wary and weary of it. I think we have to be wary, and a lot of us are weary of hearing that and that line, right? The thing that almost slipped out that crossed my mind was this business, because it came to me. I was driving this week, and I heard someone debating and arguing about something else, but I've heard it twice again in the last week or week and a half about this. Well, you can't yell fire in a crowded theater. We've all heard that, right? We've all heard that. Talking about freedom of speech and what you can't do. It may even be in relation to gun rights. It could be in relation to anything, the virus or whatever. Justifying control usually, just like doing your part. If it saves one life, you can't yell fire in a crowd. So many of these cliches and lines that sound good, again, quite often they're used to try to control people irrationally, quite often. So anyway, and I've talked about this before, but you young people and any people, you old senile people, everybody, old senile people like me, that one sounds good too. Well, yeah, you got to have limitations. I mean, we do, of course. We can't just have anarchy. I'm not advocating that, but no, well, here's the thing. Yes, you can yell fire in a crowded theater. Who says you can't yell fire in a crowded theater? You certainly can. If there's a movie house open, a theater open this week, today, I can drive and go to a movie today, and guess what I can do? In the middle of that movie, I can stand up and scream, fire, as loud as I want to. So what do you mean you can't do it? But there would be consequences for it, right? I would deserve to be probably arrested and charged with what? Reckless endangerment. I'm not sure what the charge would be. Yeah, there are consequences for it. I'm sure you can do it. So the parallel is just, the analogy is just incorrect that people use. Well, you can, if they're talking about that in context with firearms. Well, there's got to be limitations. You can't have a gun like this that holds more than 7 rounds or 10 rounds. Or, there's just things you can't do. You can't yell fire in a crowded theater, even though we have the freedom of speech. They're addressing the First Amendment. There's limitations on the First Amendment. You can't scream fire in a crowded theater. And so, thereby, any restrictions on firearms or anything else, what we make you wear around your face or whatever it is, we can make you do anything, because there are restrictions on the Bill of Rights, on the Constitution, and again, can't have anarchy, right? But the thing is, as I say, you can scream fire. It's just you got to pay for it, right? And the vision that they have. You got to think that through. Now, if you went into a theater and they put a piece of duct tape over everybody's mouth before you went into the actual theater so that you could not scream fire, then that would be limiting your freedom of speech, wouldn't it? That would not be right. That would not be right at all. So there are lots of freedoms we have, but there are responsibilities and there are consequences. Yes, okay? So whenever you hear somebody using that stupid logic about screaming fire in a crowded theater, just laugh. Just laugh, because you can. You can do it. You can do lots of things. You can drive 100 miles an hour down the interstate today. But it's illegal, and there will be consequences for it, right? If you survive it and everybody else does, there's consequences for it, right? And that's the way everything is. There's consequences, okay? So anyway, I don't know, it's just one of my soapboxes. Definitely it is. There was a comment on that FAQ or two. It was funny. I saw, I did on leaving California, and speaking of freedoms and firearms and everything, that little fun FAQ, as I was loading my handgun back up, getting it out of the lockbox, and everything. I got back into Arizona. If you haven't seen that, check it out. It's the latest FAQ video, making fun of California, calling it Soviet territory and everything. And there were some people, most people thought, yeah, it's great, and so true, but there are some people say, well, good riddance, just get away. What do you think? The only freedom is carrying a gun, da, 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 da. If you can't carry a gun, we don't want you, or if that's a big deal, don't come back, and that sort of thing. A few of those too, and I understand that. The thing that people, I think, don't understand, if they live in California and they've lived in that environment for most of their lives, or whether it's Massachusetts or New Jersey or another state similar, they don't realize, and that's probably true of any, and I don't mean to broad brush everybody, everybody's an idiot that lives in those countries and are totally naive, or in those states or anything like that, but you still, if you haven't lived in Tennessee or Kentucky or Mississippi or Texas, or I can name a lot of states where you've been carrying a firearm for 20 years or 30 years, and you can, any kind of firearm is legal and it's not a problem and all that sort of thing. It's you don't really appreciate how it hits you it's just a weird thing. It's a weird thing, No, I can live without a firearm on me, but it's just a weird, thing. It's like not being able to wear, I don't know, green tennis shoes or something in California, or not being able to drive a car that weighs more than a certain weight, or I don't know what would be a good example. You can't wear a button-up shirt when you come to California, or something like that. And he's like, it's just weird. Okay, so you can't help notice it. You can't wear a baseball cap in California. Okay, that'd be a good analogy, I guess. It would just be strange if you're used to wearing a hat, or you have to wear a hat when you're in California. I don't know, and so we're just not used to that, and millions of us, millions and millions, many millions of us in the country just think that is weird, really weird restriction. So I know you can't really appreciate that maybe as fully if you live there, and especially if you're not a firearms person. You don't shoot, especially that, so. But anyway, California is a beautiful state, and there's a lot of great people there. And anybody, you could adjust to living there, I guess. The worst part, though, of course, is becoming other things, not just the lack of Second Amendment freedom. It's everything else, right? Taxes and homelessness, and just the cities, and people are leaving, and so it's got bigger problems than that. Even if I could snap my fingers and the firearms laws, Second Amendment, had the same respect as it does in Tennessee or Texas, I still don't think I'd want to live there. A lot of people probably wouldn't. I mean, you got your problems. You got some problems, right? Hopefully they'll get worked out. You get a new governor, maybe Caitlyn Jenner, maybe whoever it is, and will take some responsibility, or try to just, I don't know, get some fiscal responsibility with that state, And of course we're having that problem through the whole country, right? It's, who knows what the future will bring. When you spend more than you make, it ain't good, whether it's you or me. I mean, it's just basic economics. You spend more money than comes in, bad things are likely to happen, either not necessarily immediately, but before long, or down the road a ways. We're going to have to pay the piper. California's having that issue in a big way. So how much ammo's in this dumb thing? Let me shoot it some more. Shot it twice, right? And it ain't empty. Okay. I like to use bad grammar. As a former English teacher, I have a license to use bad grammar. All right. I think it's time to pop another 2-liter. How about a red one? Draw some blood. How about a bowling pin right there close? Uh-oh, did I get rim lock? No. And how about a bowling pin over there? And I have one more round, so I'll go ahead and shoot it. I'm gonna try. I don't know if y'all can see that round disc on the left out there, pretty far out there. I'm gonna see if it'll fall. Okay. Don't know if I hit it or not. I think I did. It's empty, but it's a very thin disc. That target goes way back. Hope the sun's not messing with you too much here, or me. I don't know. I'm at a different time of day here. Hopefully it's okay. I'd hate for you not to be able to see my face, but I actually set this range up. We were having some work done on the house. Gosh, 20 years ago. It's been a long time, and the workmen were there. This isn't like 7, 8 years ago. You got some videos where there's hammering and some stuff where we added on to the house about 8, 9 years ago, 10. That's a different time period. But this was restoring some of the logs and things on the back. And I don't know, the guys that did that, they were here several days, different times, and come in here regularly and everything. So I came over here and I realized, well, because I didn't want to blow their ears out. They were working outside right there when I was shooting. Weren't doing videos or anything at the time, but I still wanted to be able to shoot. Guess what? I've always been a shooter, and I bought this place to shoot. And so, anyway, I came over here and I set up that stand left. You can't see it too well. I'll do a close-up on it maybe next week, but it's straight down from the gong, that black array of targets there, and that round one and the little. The small ram and all that, and I set all that up there, and I would just stand right in here and shoot, come over here and shoot, because I'm 150 yards or whatever from the house and everything, and just shoot some over here. And that's how, and then when we had the add-on going on too, I could still come over and shoot occasionally if I wanted to. And so anyway, that target it's very thin. It's maybe less than 1/4 of an inch. I had made many moons ago, 30, 40 years ago, and it's on a platform, but it's very, very thin. And so when you hit it with a rifle, it usually just punches right through it. And oh, you know what? It's sitting on the ground, so I don't know whether I hit it or not. I sometimes will have it sitting on a little crossbar where I have that cinder block over there, and it will fall off that, even though it passes through it. Usually a rifle round usually does, but it just barely sits on that, but it's on the ground now. And I know you were dying to know that, right? Okay, so this is the Lee Enfield, the Mark III. This one was made in, you probably saw it, 1918. And this is the one, gosh, I bought it in 1917 and gave it to John when I bought this one, and did the first video or two with it. Have we done a chapter 2 with this? I thought we had, but I couldn't find it on my phone. I was looking for it. I thought we did a chapter 2 with this. We did range 2, I think, with the other one, but I don't know if we've done a chapter 2. I'll get on my computer. I do more on the computer than I do on the phone, and I'll say, man, that'd be cool if we didn't do a chapter 2. But I think we did. But I was in the mood to bring it out. The old Lee Enfield Mark III. These are cool. I've got the number 4 Mark I, the ones used mostly made, for World War II. But I think this is maybe my favorite, the Mark III. They go back, early 1900s and everything before, but in their evolution. Check out our video on it. The first video, I was watching some of that. I actually went into a lot of that. Um, the Mark IV, Lee Enfield Mark III, and just an interesting history, goes way back. And one of the weird things about this one is often with military rifles, and y'all can probably vouch for this, military surplus rifles, if you're just going to shoot it at 50 yards or 60 yards, you might have a little trouble because they're usually set up for like minimum distance of 200, on the sights or something. And this one's no exception. It's 200, looks like the shortest distance, on the rear sight. But I have it on I have to have it on 400. I got it on 400 because I make that mistake sometimes. I took some shots when I came over here and I was missing, and I looked at it, messed with it, and I put it all the way down because that's usually an issue, as I said. And I was shooting it out. I couldn't hit anything. I got to be going low. I couldn't tell. And I was. So I raised the rear sight to 400. It's right on 4. See that? I don't know if you can see. And so now when I hold right on, it hits them. So figure that one out, because that's only about, I don't know, 70 yards or something to that, or it's about 80 to the gong, about the same as the other range. But I like that. I mean, it's great because it eliminates that as being a problem. But nothing like an old Lee Enfield. It's not necessarily my favorites. Some people it's just their favorite of all time, military surplus rifle. And a lot of people, if we had a vote on the most effective bolt action World War II rifle or World War I, this would be the winner and everything. But a lot of that's because it holds 10 rounds. Some people love the cock on close. This one cocks not when you open it, it cocks when you close the bolt. And that's okay. I prefer cock on opening. I prefer the Mauser action. The AUG-3 Springfield, the Mauser are my favorites. The 10 rounds, as I have talked about before, is nice, I guess. And by the way, here's some 303 British. You can see those babies. They got a rim. They're a rim cartridge case, so you have to be a little bit careful loading so you don't get rim lock, because the newer ones aren't beveled like, as I understand, the old ones, the originals, they beveled them a little bit, so the rim lock was not an issue. But the 10 rounds is okay, but it doesn't do that much for me. I don't like the chargers or the clips that are used to load these. They're awkward as far as I'm concerned. They're just awkward. And it's nice having 10 rounds if you start out. I can put 10 rounds in here and go to battle, so it's some advantage. I don't have to stop and reload 5, but it's pretty quick to reload 5 in a Mauser, right? So I've got 10, but once I fire those 10, I kind of lose that advantage, don't I? Once it's empty, or once I'm down to 3, whatever. It's not as big an advantage because the clips hold 5, I think. So I can load 5 and another clip, and I can load 5 more. But just because it holds 10, it's not like an AR-15. So I've got an AR-15 with one mag, it holds 5, another mag holds 10, and I got some more 10-round mags on my belt, and I can just pop them in. So it's a little different, okay? So the 10 versus 5, for me, that's just a little bit exaggerated in terms of an advantage, I think. But I have to admit, I have not been to war with a Lee Enfield. Okay, so I'll put a few more in it and take a few more shots. After I bore you on something else, what else do I want to bore you with? Oh yeah, I wanted to say a word about Kentucky ballistics. I had not seen the video last week, so I didn't say anything about that. But so I wanted to watch the video that he did. But anyway, glad he's on the heel and on the mend. That was just amazing what he went through and came so close to not being around, right? And that's just the way the world works, man. We are fragile creatures, and just anything can get us. Our cars, our occupation, falling off a ladder, our hobby, just whatever it is, it can get us. I've said often that if like this gun blows up today or whatever, shooting is typically not that dangerous. The most dangerous thing I do is get in a car, drive to Nashville, or drive to California. That's the most dangerous thing I do, right? Shooting, as long as you're safe, it's just not that dangerous, really. But something could happen. Some weird thing can happen, and if it did, hey, don't say, well, see, they're about to get Hickok. You knew that was going to happen. He's always shooting. Yep. Live by the gun, die by the gun, or whatever, silly phrase someone might come up with, or cliche. If something happens, some weird ricochet and puts me out of my misery, puts you out of your misery because you don't have to put up with me anymore. It's not fine, but I'm good with it. Okay, just know I'm good with it. All right, so get that on record. I know the risk, and it's worth it. Just like if I'm climbing ladders every day, I know the risk. I know the risk when I get in my car every day. Okay. So, it's just we take those risks and willingly, voluntarily, and so that's just it. Sometimes stuff happens, but anyway, glad that Kentucky Scott, I think, is on the mend and survived that through some quick action on his dad's part and his part, and things happen. It is amazing that firearms are. They have to be made to withstand a lot of pressure. Now, he was using some, 50 cal and some slap ammo. I'm not that familiar with that kind of thing and all that, but so more pressure and more chances of things happening maybe, but still, it's amazing whether it's this this rifle or the Glock in my pocket. Oh, would I actually have a Glock in my pocket? It's whatever it is. There's a lot of pressure in that chamber, and and that's steel. So it's really a testament to the firearms makers, isn't it? That they test these things, they proof test them, and a lot of the markings on the barrels, the old barrels, the new barrels, it has to do with proof testing, and they fire those things with a double charge or whatever they do to make sure they'll withstand pressure of even a round that's a little hotter than others and all that kind of thing. And it's just really, really rare that you do hear about things like that, isn't it? So are happening. I mean, I shoot with confidence, whatever gun I have, even if it's an old gun. It just doesn't really cross my mind that it's going to blow up. It's there. It's one reason you wear glasses. A lot of people think glasses are only for a ricochet, okay, that kind of thing. Well, I don't know if it's less likely. Maybe it's more likely, depending on what you're shooting at. But with revolvers, for example, you can get some stuff come out the side and splatter and can come back and hit you in the eye sometimes, between the cylinder gap. And then, of course, if a case blew or something, a bad case, even though the gun doesn't blow up, maybe some gets out, comes back at you, so you don't want to lose your eyes. So that's the thing I think about wearing glasses, more so than ricochet almost. But anyway, that's interesting, and glad he is going to make it. So there's risk with everything, and we just have to be ready to accept it. One thing I'd made a note about was I'd be careful talking about this because it comes off as I don't know, it just doesn't come off well, maybe to some people. But I saw another comment or two this past week about someone saying that I must have been a cop or a soldier, and partly because a lot of people are just getting into shooting and they think I shoot well, and I can hit most targets that are not too small, as I said over and over. But there are so many people that can outshoot me. I'm just a recreational shooter. I don't even compete anymore. I just like to shoot, so shoot a lot, as you know. You see me, so. I shouldn't miss too often on a reasonably sized target, all right? But some people who don't shoot much and they're just getting into it and they're struggling, they think I'm God, or I'm Rob Latham or something, okay? And I am far from that. I'm a lot smarter than Rob Latham, but I can't shoot like him. Had to get you on that, Rob, sorry. But so anyway, they'll say things like, oh, you must have been a soldier. Probably young people mostly. You must have been a soldier, a cop or something. Well, Well, and there again, I was a reserve deputy. I volunteered in my county for a while. That had nothing. Although I think somebody was saying that they remembered me mentioning that somewhere, and that's the reason I could shoot well. Oh man, if you only knew, most cops just don't shoot that much, okay, unless they do it on their own. Even soldiers, unless you're in a special group, okay, the average, infantryman, whatever it is, you're not just out there, especially with handguns. You're not out there banging thousands of rounds through handguns, whether you're a soldier or a cop, unless you're a Navy SEAL or some special operations. Now, you all correct me if I'm wrong in the military, but I'm pretty sure I'm right about the police work. They qualify maybe a couple of times a year, and then if it's someone who is interested in firearms, they may shoot more. So it's just like the general population. If you're a cop or a soldier and you just really like to shoot, and you collect guns, you shoot guns, you go to the range on your own, then you're a better shooter, okay? I always say it's like ping pong. If you don't play ping pong, guess what? You're no good at ping pong. We all know that person that's good at pool or ping pong, something like that, but you're not around a pool table or a ping pong table. You never play it. You play it once every 5 years. Well, a 9-year-old kid who plays regularly is going to make you look, he's going to embarrass you, right? That's just the way that is. It's you just got to do it. And the same with shooting a handgun. So for young people or naive people, there is, nobody respects our soldiers and our cops more than me. But just because you're a soldier or a cop does not mean you are good, especially with a handgun. Okay, it's just a fact. I answered somebody this week on that. I said something about, you go to your average USPSA match. You see any old USPSA match, IPSC match in the country, and almost everybody that shoots in that is likely to be a better shot than the cops in that county. Maybe the best cops in that county in terms of shooting. I mean, it's just a fact, okay? It's not a negative thing about that at all. It's just that it's expensive too to shoot. It's expensive. You've got to shoot. Have training and putting rounds down range with some guidance, and it's just the average police officer doesn't make a lot of money, as we all know. It's like teachers or something, and so they're not going to the range and shooting hundreds of rounds. They're just not doing that. And so that's it. They qualify and meet the standards, minimum standards, at least, and there you go. So I guess what I'm just saying is, don't ever think because somebody can shoot pretty well, they had to be a cop or a soldier. It's just not the case. It's almost irrelevant. Now, there are some cops I've known who shoot really well, and some soldiers that shoot really well, right? Because they train and they work at it. So that's just the way it is. But that's a small percentage, really, of both groups when you get right down to it. Now, I'm talking handgun mainly. Talking handgun, okay? So, just wanted to mention that. There's just a lot of people who have that misconception. And I did too, I guess, when I was a teenager. Oh, man. And I always had a lot of respect when we were doing, I was heavily into USPSA. I always had a lot of respect for, there were a couple of police officers, deputies city officer in Clarksville that came out and shot with us. And, they were pretty good because they were into gun. They liked it. That's why they came and shot in matches, and they wanted to get better. And more than anything, they were not afraid to come and shoot with us and shoot in a match. And because there's this thing about at least I knew I might have had something else important I wanted to talk about. There's this thing, you can understand, if you are a cop, a gun, a firearm is a part of your equipment, and an important part. And it's got to be a little bit, I don't know, embarrassing. Or if you go to a shooting match and everybody knows you're a cop and you finish last or something, it's just You know, that's just not. So I was always impressed when we had police officers show up. In fact, we tried to recruit them. I was on the board, and I was the one. I went around to the state police office. I went to several county offices, and just we had a flyer up, and I just went in and talked to them, and said, hey, I don't know if you're familiar, or maybe they were, because a couple of their officers would come up occasionally. But I went in and gave them the flyer and said, we're kind of having a promotion. Anybody that wants to come and shoot, you know, that's a sworn officer, can shoot for free, no entry fee. And I went around to a bunch of the surrounding counties and the State Department, and we got a couple, but you know, it didn't make much difference. They don't have the time, for one thing, you know, the money and maybe the inclination. We just thought it'd be great, and for anybody that wanted to, because it's not really training, you know, shooting a USPSA match, but it does familiarize you with your equipment. You know, it really does. Don't make a mistake thinking, oh, I go shoot USPSA, so I'm a warrior, of course, because it's mostly a game. But it does familiarize you with your firearm. I can't tell you how many times, maybe with me and shooting, you realize, oh, this magazine doesn't work in this gun as well as I thought, or oh, that magazine doesn't work. I was relying on that magazine because I shot stock most of the time, and that was my main thing. Or this ammo doesn't work as well as I thought, or whatever. So you learn a lot about your gun and about how bad you are, how hard it is to hit something. You run up to a wall and you shoot from behind it, and you got to hit something over there, and it's not all that small, but the clock's running, and you're shooting for score, and you're trying to win the match or come in high or whatever, and you can just miss. There's a little bit of pressure there, right? Nothing like when people are shooting at you, though, or when there's a threat. But at least you have a little bit of pressure on you, and you're testing your equipment under a little bit of pressure, and you're having fun, you know, of course, mostly. So we thought, you know, anybody wanted to come, because that's the reason the police officers that did shoot with us did. You know, it was fun, and they were testing their equipment and getting better at it. Okay. So anyway, I don't know if you cared about that, but just part of my job, dispel myths, you know, and I hesitate to talk about that because I don't want to make fun of like cops or soldiers. It's just, you know, I'm not trying to build up myself or other people who shoot. It's just fact of life. It's like ping pong. I don't care what your job is, what you do every day, whether it's police work or you're a soldier or you're a lumberjack or whatever the heck it is you are. Whether you can shoot well is mostly dependent on how much you shoot, okay, and what kind of training you've had. So just a word to the wise there, or a word to the unwise, whatever. Can I shoot this again? I'm going long, aren't I? I don't even remember when I started. Let's see. I sort of do. Come on, phone. Come on. There we go. Okay. All right. We'll shoot a little bit and talk a little bit more. Okay. What else needs to be shot? How about a 2-liter? And oh, there's a green one down there. I don't know if y'all can see it. It blends in with the leaves. Oh, nice. Oh, there's a bowling pin down there too. Boy, I think the propane tank needs another hole in it. I think the gong needs another hit. All right. And maybe the red plate on the right. Smack. How about the one on the left? All right. Got that sight right where it needs to be. You know, that's when that thing hung up. It was the next to the last round. Oh, I see rim lock. I see it happening. That still went in. The next to the last round was behind the last round, so it shouldn't have worked. Let's hit the coffin. Wow. Let's hit it again. Nice. I noticed there one time I almost use one of those ears, those protection ears on the front sight as my sight. You got to watch that. Okay. You don't want to do that. Oh man. Well, oh yeah, you know what? Ironically, guess was it last week I was talking about Cowboys and Johnny Crawford being sick. Maybe it was the week before, but either the week before or last week. I think it was last week. I mentioned Johnny Crawford being ill, having Alzheimer's and sick. He died like that day or something. You know, isn't that weird? So I knew he was in a bad way. Johnny Crawford, the little boy on The Rifleman. Okay, if you missed last week, we talked about all sorts of strange things, don't we? Not strange, but we were talking about westerns and The Rifleman and Mark, Johnny Crawford, and how difficult it is to think of him as an old man, an old guy. He was older than I am, and you know, and he was in bad health. I think he had Alzheimer's really, really bad, maybe, and had for a while. But he died. You know, that was last week, I believe, and is gone. And so it's wild. He was a good actor. Good actor. I don't know, did anybody see him in anything later? He was in a few things. He was in, was it El Dorado? He got shot in El Dorado and killed by John Wayne. I know that. He was the boy up on the rock that took a shot, and then John Wayne shot back and all that. And early in that movie, pretty early. But he didn't appear later, I don't think, in many westerns, many shows, which happens a lot with child actors. But I don't know. He might have been in some things I wasn't aware of, but he was. I thought he was a good actor, so it wasn't because he was a bad actor necessarily. He wasn't in there just because he was a cute little kid. He could actually act, and so anyway, I'm gonna take just a couple more shots if I can, and I might let you go. There was somebody, I saw a comment this week. As I was skimming through, said something about they were going to start tucking in their T-shirts or something so they could shoot better. And it dawned on me how tucking in your shirt is kind of an old guy sort of thing, isn't it? And I was explaining, I think I think I answered him, didn't I? I don't know. But, you know, tucking in I don't tuck in these, I wear these as like a jacket. It's a little chilly today. I wear these more like a jacket, you know, so it doesn't bother me. But tucking in a T-shirt is just something we always did when I was young. Oh, that's right, I think I did. I said, yeah, tough guys used to tuck in their T-shirts like the Fonz, you know, you watch the old shows. That was the thing, you know, when I was growing up, you just tucked in your T-shirt. It wasn't because the discipline in schools was so strict. Maybe it sort of was. You had to have them tucked in, but nobody complained about it. I mean, I remember it wasn't a big deal. There wasn't this inclination on our part, or even the tough guy part, like the Fonz, to have his shirt tail hanging out. It just wasn't a thing. Like today, in schools, that'd be a real battle, wouldn't it? We had a dress code where I taught, so it wasn't too big a battle. You just, if you're going to go there, you had to abide the dress code. But you know, it just feels weird. Was my point I was going to make. I don't wear my T-shirt in my tucked in because it's a style thing, or I grew up in a generation where that's just what you did, and I'm not going to let my shirt hang out, my T-shirt hang out and be a slob or anything like it. It's nothing, because I dress kind of like a slob anyway. I dress for comfort, and a T-shirt hanging out for me is uncomfortable. Isn't that weird? It really is. It's just like totally opposite of most of you young people. It just feels awkward. And it limits me in my concealed carry options to some extent when it's hot. And I have tried it, and I have it's one reason I wear the Carhartt, because they were one of the early ones I found that was long enough, and they also make tall sizes. And so they hang out just fine and would conceal well enough for me and everything. But I don't know, the inside the waistband or whatever, the gun against my skin and my shirt hanging out, I feel undressed. I just don't feel right. It's just strange. I can't get over it. I might someday. You might see me when I'm 80 years old walking around with my shirt tail hanging out. But that's what all it is. It's definitely not a style thing, because I'm not into style or fashion. Need I say that? Because my thing, and when I love it when it's cooler, I just wear a shirt like this or a jacket, light jacket, hanging out. There's no problem. It's just I have a hard time with a t-shirt, or just if I just have one shirt on, whatever it is, not tucked in. I played sports, basketball, and everything, and it just didn't feel right if my shirt tail was hanging out. If I was out messing around playing basketball, pickup games or whatever it was, we're in the gym in the off season and playing, but my shirt tail tucked in because it just didn't feel right. Now some guys are a little different there on the basketball court. They just want their shirt tail out. But if it was, like a pickup game or whatever, it wasn't official practice, college or high school, but I just didn't feel right. And a lot of people my age didn't, just tuck it in. It just felt right, so that's what that is. It's not a fashion thing. Just in case you were worried about me, that I'm a slave to fashion or what people think about my clothing. Pretty funny, huh? You never know what I'm going to yak about. I should talk more about this gun and how you should own one, right? But these are neat. You talk about wood and steel, my gosh. And we've got video. If we don't have a chapter 2 on this, we will before long, but I know we do. I just couldn't put my hands on it, my fingertips on it. It even has a brass butt plate. Isn't that cool? 1918. And they're just a beautiful old firearm with real steel. Wow. Those barrel bands and everything. And they're not light for that reason, but they are pretty cool. So 1918. Gosh, that's almost 100 years old, isn't it? Okay. Why did I just put 2 in? Let's put one right here. Boom. And let's swing this bowling pin again. Yeah, I see the sawdust. I see they're chewing him up. That's what happens with bowling pins, if y'all didn't know that. You shoot them enough and they start to fall apart inside, rot away. And if you got it hanging like that, then eventually you'll shoot it and it won't move because you're just shooting through the plastic. I'm gonna put one more bullet in. I just feel like I need to hit the gong again. Yeah, that just feels better to do that. So anyway, I'm gonna let you go, and glad to be home. Oh, I know, I had one story I was going to tell you that was kind of funny. My grandson's been out. Well, this was last month, I guess, when he was out. And we had orange juice, and he had drunk some orange juice out of it's a, I don't know what the brand is. It's a little bit different bottle, but it's a plastic bottle with a cap, it holds about half a gallon or whatever, with a kind of handle built in. It's clear. A lot of orange juice bottles are not clear. This was clear. And so he had juice out of it, we poured him orange juice out of that a time or two, probably, whatever. Well, he came down one morning and that same jug was filled with water, and it was sitting on my chair at the table. Because I had, any need I tell you what a news flash that would be? Any plastic bottle of any size that is empty probably ends up on the range, right? You probably figured that one out. Well, it's a Listerine bottle or a milk jug or anything, litter jug, cat litter. Well, these are big enough to be a pretty decent little target. And so I had just rinsed it out, filled with water, and I was sitting there on my chair to take outside at some point, next trip out. So here he comes in, and he notices out on the chair, and I think I'm in the other room, and just he's a little bit perplexed. He's Grandma, this orange juice is clear. You know, I mean, he was just kind of perplexed why it was filled to the top with something clear. It's obviously full, and he's still learning about his grandpa. You know, he's sort of getting there, I think. But it was so funny. I had to come in and explain to him what that was about. So you live and learn, live and learn. So I guess I'll let you go, and I hope you get a chance to shoot some. Hope you have a little bit of ammo. And I know everybody has the cleanest guns, right, on the planet, because, yeah, if you don't have ammo, what do? Clean your guns. You could learn to be a gunsmith. You could just take them apart, put them back together too. It is a good time to learn the basics. Don't get ahead of yourself. Know your limitations. I always do that when I'm working on a firearm. I don't take anything apart. I'm not 100% sure about how to get back together. And just take your time, do some research, and maybe it's I don't know, it could be any kind of firearm. You've not had the trigger mechanism out yet. You're not taking the pins out to pull out the trigger mechanism and the bolt or whatever it is. You haven't even, you're still afraid to even fully field strip it. Maybe you're a new gun owner and you're afraid you'll damage it or not be able to put it back together. But just be aware, every firearm essentially is designed to be field stripped, just basic taking it apart to clean it well. Sometimes that does involve taking out the trigger pack or whatever, the bolt and everything. So it's usually not too complicated to at least, get the bolt out, and depending on what kind of gun it is, the slide off and all that sort of thing. The newer guns, which is probably what you have, are pretty simple if you're a new gun owner. You get back 50 years or 100 years and it becomes a little different sometimes, because every firearm is not like a modern polymer pistol where boom, it's apart. But still, if you look around on the web, there are probably videos on how to field strip just about anything, even totally disassemble it, okay? And if it's a pretty good video, because I've done that, I've used that before. I had to take the firing pin out of a Model 92 one time, and I found a video or two, and you can put the video on your phone right there on the table. It's really great, isn't it? And you can back it up, and then as you're reassembling, you may have to go back and look at it again, and just make sure you get it back together properly. But anyway, just know your limitations. But it is a good time to learn more about your firearm if you're a new gun owner or an old gun owner like myself. Still a lot of firearms that I am not comfortable breaking down, for sure, totally. So I'm gonna let you go, and I will be back next Sunday if all goes well, and we'll see if there's any difference in these leaves. You reckon there are? I don't know. Anyway, I will see you later. That reminds me, later, alligator. Went to the zoo, took our grandson to the zoo. That was fun. I was so frustrated. They had this big, beautiful cat. They called it a Bengal tiger. And he was just such a big, sleepy baby, lying there, right there close, and just so sweet. You could just tell he looked sweet, and they wouldn't let me in there to pet him. So it was really frustrating. He was just so cute. I wanted to go in there and just lie down beside him and pet him and maybe hug him. He was just beautiful and sweet and sleepy, just like my cats. Just looked so sweet. But they wouldn't let me do it. So anyway, I'll talk to y'all later. It's a miracle I'm still alive, isn't it, with my brain. Y'all have a great week. Life is good.